Hello everyone and welcome to the Nissan EV Owners Group channel. I'm Paul Eden. In this series of interviews we're talking to and getting the views of some of the foremost people in the Nissan EV field. Traditionally we've stuck to British, UK based people, but today I'm joined by Brian Mollan. Now, many of our users won't have heard of Brian, and that's because although he's of British birth, he was born in Egypt to British parents, he's based in Western Australia, just east of Perth. But as I hope to find out today, he's got a unique story to tell. So, without further ado, from our Kalamunda studio where it is this afternoon, Brian, welcome.
And good morning to you, Paul.
Oh, good afternoon indeed, yes. So we last met in London in 2019. It was just pre-pandemic. And at the time, I was running around in an internal combustion cars, a Honda, I think it was at the time, or my wife's Volvo, I don't remember. And you and I got chatting about renewables and EVs. Now, I already had an interest in the things and had a Leaf on extended test drive. I secretly got a 24 kilowatt for a couple of days, didn't tell me. And I'd already planned that a Leaf would be the next car. And I remember really drinking up your experiences of the car. But that's where the similarities end. We're now 12,000 miles apart. Can you tell us your Leaf story? I distinctly remember you telling me that your Leaf was the first in Western Australia. Is that correct?
It was the first private sale Leaf. There were some to corporates before me, but I was the first private sale, yeah.
When did you get it? How old is it?
It's the 2012, August 2012, I took delivery.
Yours is Japanese built, isn't it? So it's got the electric handbrake and the cream interior, is that right?
No electric handbrake. Oh, sorry, yes, it is electric handbrake.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you had much to do with Nissan since you've got it? Have you had cause to talk to them at all?
Since I got it, very, very little, because they showed total ignorance on their product. Sadly, and it's many stories of Nissan salesmen when talking to somebody inquiring about buying a Leaf. The salesmen have redirected them to ICE cars because they make more money.
Still happens today.
And also, of course, they're playing to the Australian psyche of petrol heads and wanting to go 1,000 miles on a petrol tank.
Unfortunately, you might be disappointed to hear that still happens today. Even in this country, some of the dealers are really good and some of them really get it, but a substantial number of them don't, and in many ways that's why groups such as mine are important, and your experience is so important as well. Would you buy another Leaf if yours were to meet a horrible end?
Yes, I would. I'm not intending it to have a horrible end. At the age of 82, I'm hoping this will see me through till I lose my driving license. But whenever that may be, if I were to do anything, I would look at yet another more updated battery for the current Leaf. It's such a good car. It's so strong, so sturdy. The only thing that I would change would be the battery.
Good. Is the correct answer. But there you go. I adore that license plate. You must be deeply proud of that.
Well, yes, Paul. Luckily, we were able to buy and are able to buy what they call custom plates.
Yeah. Did EVs or renewables come first for you?
Okay, about the same time, Paul. In around 2008, there was a lot of talk of peak oil, and I thought I should be prepared for such an eventuality. And so I was scanning horizons, but in electric cars, the only ones were home conversions, which I didn't feel competent to do. And then I spotted an article in the local paper that referred to a Vectrix battery electric maxi scooter.
Ah, yes.
So then I thought, right now, I knew all about solar, but maybe the answer is to power that motorcycle with solar. So I got the two at the same time, a small 1.7 kilowatt solar system to help power the bike. So that was the start of it, because I wanted to see the bike being truly powered by renewables. And then subsequently, the federal government brought in a subsidy for solar panels, and the state government introduced a feed-in tariff.
Yes.
And
Which allows you to sell electricity back to the grid.
That's right, yeah. And at that point, I said, right, we'll go in 3 stages. I've got 8 panels already. Stage 2 will be another 8 panels, and stage 3 will be a further 8 to make 24 panels or 5.2 kilowatts of power.
Yeah. So would you briefly take us through what we're seeing there?
Okay. On the right-hand side on the house roof is the 5.5 kilowatt system, which was my first system, and that exports to the grid. On the left of the picture is the steeper pitched garage roof, which is the 5.8 kilowatt system, and that's at a steeper angle for 2 reasons. One was I wanted to put a mezzanine floor above the garage, so there was a livable space above it, so that had a greater pitch. And secondly, those panels will be at a better angle for the winter sun when I need the maximum effectiveness. I would lose some effectiveness in the summer, but I've got so much it doesn't matter.
How close to, because obviously you need to face north. How close to north are they?
Yeah, northwest by north.
Oh, okay, so fairly close.
Yes, the solar hot water system you see on the bottom of the picture.
Oh, at the bottom, yes.
That is the same age as the house, which is 52 years old this year, and is just so simple. It's fantastic. Those are the collector panels. The water then goes into a tank in the roof, and insulated tank, which then feeds the house by gravity, so it's low pressure. And I think I've changed the immersion element maybe twice in 50 years.
I've had a number of questions from my users, primarily, obviously want to talk about the difference in climate.
Yes.
So your summers are quite a bit warmer than I'm used to here in the UK, but your winters are much warmer. Did that inform your choice of renewable energies and EVs, and how do those temperatures affect the car in general? In particular, I've been asked a number of times to ask you, at the 12-volt batteries in our Leafs last 3-4 years at best. What about yours? Tell me about yours.
I think I've only changed mine once in 11 years. If you're in a freezing cold English day, lots of sun may seem very appealing. And it's a mixed blessing. It's a two-edged weapon for Leafs. On the one hand, it gives you lots of solar energy, which is beautiful. But on the other hand, leaf batteries don't like 35 degrees.
According to Nissan and according to the chaps who know these things, the ideal, the absolute proper favourite temperature is about 30, which is considerably warmer than it gets mostly here. But that makes rapid charging problematic. When you're away from home, do you
Paul,
rapid charge the car?
I haven't been away from home for some years now. Well, yes. When I did, I had the fortune of using the Royal RACWA electric highway between Perth and Augusta, which was established in 2015 and is a distance of about 195 miles with 12 charging points
Okay.
in that mix. And yes, I've used fast charging there, Chademo. And what I usually like to do is arrive at the charger, let the battery settle and cool a bit for half an hour, and then plug in and charge. Nobody else is around and I'm enjoying my coffee or meal or walk around, then I'll trickle her up to as close to 100% as I can for the next leg. But if somebody's wanting to use the charger behind me, well, I'll accept the 80% if I can get to my destination on that.
See, what we haven't mentioned, and this is where the story really starts, as they say, is that yours is a 24 kilowatt car, but it isn't. So you need to tell us about that.
Yeah, the first generation battery, the chemistry just didn't like the West Australian heat. And it's interesting that the very first Leaf battery problems we heard about were in Phoenix, Arizona, which is even hotter than Perth. And that really was the warning signs that the Leaf battery the first generation didn't like heat. And I'm interested in the fact that many of your English 2012 Leafs seem to have much better battery endurance or capacity than ours in Perth.
Right. What happened, I think, it wasn't 2012, it was late 2013, where there was an update to the chemistry of the battery, to the electrolyte.
Right.
And Sunderland built cars in 2013 got this update for the chemistry. The US based batteries, I can't remember the name of the factory, didn't get it until 2015, and nor did the Japanese cars. So until 2024, so in that way, early 2013, 2014 cars, the Sunderland built ones are the ones to get. But what I want to get to is the battery that you put in the car. Tell us about that.
Well, after 9 years, the poor old 24 kilowatt battery was down to 7 bars and lucky to get 75 kilometers. I've done a lot of conversion of miles to kilometers to miles for you, but that was the situation. What that meant was charging more often, which of course was not good for the battery, that frequent charging. So I cast around, and a company in Perth called Lithium Power found me a second-hand 40 kilowatt hour battery.
Where was this battery?
Well, he wouldn't tell me. He just said, I can get it for you. This is the cost. And do you want to go ahead? So I said, yes. I assumed it was coming from Japan as being the closest distance. Being a patient man, I had to wait 9 months for its delivery. When I unpacked it, there on the battery was UK. So it was a Sunderland battery.
Yes.
Yeah. Out of a crashed Leaf in UK, I imagine.
Yes, it would have been, yes, yeah. But so that's halfway through the story, because you fitted it yourself.
Well, I used a friend with expertise. He had in his backyard a very nice big shed with a car hoist. He's also the current president of the Australian Electric Vehicle Association, so he was very cluey and a very nice bloke, and so he helped or did most of it in that took out the vehicle control module, the VCM.
Oh, yes.
I had to send that off to New Zealand to be modified by EV Enhanced.
That's EV Enhanced, right. Yes.
And at the same time, the 40 kilowatt hour battery arrived, but we then took out the 24 kilowatt hour and put the car aside, gathering dust for a month while we waited for the VCM and a very good conversion kit that EV Enhanced provide for that to arrive back in Perth. When it arrived back in Perth, it was go day, and we lifted up the 40 kilowatt into place, and then put the VCM back in, everything hooked up, lovely, down on the hoist, press the go button. No go. What is happening?
No.
Traps for young players. What had happened
Yes,
in
quite.
the interim is that 12 volt had lost enough voltage. And as we all know, the 12 volt...
It's always the 12 volts, always the 12 volt, Brian.
Critical. So we put that on charge for about half an hour, plugged everything in again, and away she went. And it was great.
That's excellent. Yeah. So the EV enhanced stuff, the VCM is because the car and the battery need to be paired.
Yes,
they won't work otherwise. That's what's
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So what we're seeing here is basically the old 24 kilowatt modules in the boot of the Leaf that has a 40 kilowatt in a service battery.
Correct. Yeah.
They look in really good condition.
We stripped the 24 kilowatt hour pack down at the place where we put in the 40, and so I stacked up all the cells to bring them home here, where they are still intended to be solar storage batteries, but I haven't built that system yet.
That's gonna increase your home capacity somewhat,
yes.
Isn't it?
I think there's probably about 10 or 11 kilowatt hours left in that.
So that's the end of part 1 of our chat with Brian. Come back soon for part 2.